Okay, I'm just going to jump in here. This is part 2. I did the unboxing yesterday along with showing the Dreaming Way Tarot. The tarot card deck seems to be fall for me, feel-wise, and this one seems to be spring. So when I did the unboxing, I pulled 3 cards, and because I was thinking of spring, I was looking at information that I could gather but could see a little bit of it now. We're in 2025. This would be information for the spring of 2026. Gotta say, I still feel that this is my grandmother coming through. Now, even though it's a Lenormand deck, if you've watched my channel, I try to read more into the cards than just the simple meanings. And I like the fact that this spread developed a little bit care of the spread in the back of the book. Now it's suggesting, that you could use the whole deck. That was way too much for me, possibly up to 10 cards. But I think it was the spiraling backwards that led me to where I am right here. In that if this is information, and I still feel it is from my grandmother, there's something to be looked at connected to the past for me because she is pointing to the past. And why is she pointing that way? Well, you could look at the card saying that she has information to share, the book, and that it's possibly given from the heart or heartfelt messages. The other thing that popped up was when I looked at the backs of these cards, for me, it was saying home, the house. And these little things here, these people, were spirits. This is just, hang tight with me and we'll work through this because this deck to me seems just a little bit more special, especially for me. So Grandma here, she has her fox on her shoulder because she had a fox stole. And when I saw this card, I gotta say, yes, it reminded me of my grandmother. But when I think of the fox, there's that book information. You gotta be careful. Something could be wrong. Foxes can be sly, foxes can be cunning, but they also listen. They crouch down, they approach a situation very quietly, and they listen before they make their move. Now, the other thing is I brought in her comb, and when I was trying to lay out the cloth to work on, I kept running into a bump, and I can't stand that. So I had to look underneath, and lo and behold, is a charm. And on the charm is the letter I. Well, Grandma is from my father's side, and I stands for Irwin. So this to me is Grandma Irwin. And she is looking to the past. So I'm wondering what this can tell me. If it has to do with the home and spirits, let's dig in. So this is going to go anti-clockwise, this spread, because although it talks about 2026 spring, she has a message for me connected to the past. So we're going to go back into the cards. Instead of divining for the future, we're almost going back and connecting with her to see what she wants to say, because she's been gone for quite a long time. So Grandma Irwin has some information. The door is open. And haven't I just been working with all the ancestors through this Samhain period, through the Day of the Dead? And when I did my charm board, the pendulum pointed to Grandma and Grandpa Irwin, their photo. So there's like an invitation here for me to step into some more information, or if the door being opened, information is passing towards me. I see it at this time. Because it is a 10 of coins, to me, that says it is connected to family, some information around family. And 9 of Wands, if you relate to tarot, can be a little bit of a struggle. but it is from the heart that this information is given. So I thought, I was going to call this the 2020 spread, not referring to the year, but when you think of, that phrase, hindsight is 2020. That's because looking back and reflecting on things can give us that extra insight. If there's lessons to be learned because of the book there, to open our hearts and our minds to some information maybe from the ancestors. And it just seemed right for me to do. So I thought I'd bring you along. And I wasn't going to pull any cards necessarily from this center pile that remains. But when I finished laying them out, somehow this card seems to me to connect to this one. So let's continue. So Grandma is suggesting that with the fish card, that the knowledge that I can gain, that is given in love. When I think of the fish, I think of richness, gain, and comfort, because you've got the umbrella there and it's sheltering these fish from the raindrops, although they swim in water. So I would say that this is going to be an emotional journey for the two of us connecting. Maybe this spread is just the opening of the door. Maybe this is not going to give me all the answers, but I'm going to try. So there's generosity here connected to the heart card. There's protection when you think of the King of Coins. As I said, there's a richness and a plenty of what? Of shared love, compassion. So then when we go on to this one, and when you get this key card in Lenormand, whatever it points to is usually the answer and also the yes. So let me open up, let me experience everything that she has to share at this key moment. 8 to me is always matters of the mind. And we got a few coins coming up here. So the key for me is to know that Grandma is protecting me. And maybe there was protection in the past from information. And now it's time to revisit that because we're going anti-clockwise and see what key information can be shared. And because it's the fish, I would say there's probably a plethora of information, a multitude, many, and rich gains to be had by looking at this and sharing that heartfelt connection. Kind of nice. The scythe. Well, for me, jacks are usually messengers. The scythe. Something has to be severed. And I'm going to look at this card because the point of the scythe is pointing to this card. And these cards sit together, so I think they are talking. Something has to be cut, whether it's cut open, whether it's severed. The scythe can also be kind of a hurtful thing, quick, painful. But the key to remember is the gains can be greater. So let's see what this one says. Ooh, another information-like one. Ooh. It echoes the book. And when it's in an envelope, that's usually years ago something very special. And when it came by airmail, extra special. Someone sends a letter to you by airmail, they're at a great distance away. So Grandma has not only knowledge, but she's traveling with this information from a great distance away. But with the scythe here, that scythe can certainly slit open that letter. So if it was sealed and information tucked inside, if we unseal it, if we take that, remember years ago, a letter opener. Everyone had them on their desk. So to me, this is, yes, a scythe, but it's also a letter opener. pretty good. So Grandma definitely, if I can spend time with her, if I can access, if I can reconnect with her, she definitely has information to share. Now let's look over here at this one and see what it is. The snake. Well, the snake and the fox together. Quite intriguing. This sort of has a resemblance to me as a child. I think Grandma has some information to tell me connected to my childhood. I'm going to, because of the snake, think that the information, once it's gathered, once I sit with it, once I listen to it, and maybe she can connect to me through my dreams. That seems to be where a lot of my ancestors like to talk. So I seem to be isolated, elevated. The snake is wrapped around me, and the little tongue is licking here by my ear and my neck. So this looks like a poisonous snake to me. There is information connected to the past or to Grandma that she wishes to share with me. And it will be transformative. But I have to open, I have to be ready to receive. And because I think I'm in training right now in working with the ancestors and opening those doors, I get the feeling that it's going to be much like this, that information from past ancestors will be coming through. For some reason, this picture really attracts me, interests me. This deck seems to be a deck for me in working with the ancestors. So, the key takeaway is here. See the information, yes, as maybe what I thought is not the case at all, and that Grandma has information to clear things up for me. And the key is the gains to be had from that. And the key is the gains in connecting to the ancestors. And to open not only this letter, but open the doors. And with an open heart, be ready to receive the information. So for some reason, I'm getting the idea that I want to pick one more card here. And that is going to be, I guess, opening the door and proceeding. Is there any other information that Grandma would like to share with me? Another messenger card. And again, the rider faces the past. So there's some issues that I have to face, but messages will be coming through. And the horse to me is always about movement and powerful movement. So letter, rider, message, book, secrets. Unlock the door is key. Open your heart to the information and there will be gains. Know that this will be transformative, but it's worth taking a second look at. It's worth looking into your past. Yeah. So I'm going to sit with this some more. I wanted to share this spread with you. I know most of us are usually using our oracles for looking into the future. What if we begin to look into the past and to bring some of our relatives back in, or people that we connected to in the past, objects like this to bring their energy further, recognizing when some of these instances happen and we get a feeling, yes, it's a Lenormand deck and we should be reading it a certain way according to the professionals and the books. But if a deck begins to speak to you in a totally different manner, but it speaks to you, that's key and that's valuable. So I'm going to leave it there because I've got some more work to do myself here. Really enjoying this spread. I'm going to call it the Lenormand 2020 for the hindsight that we can gather if we begin to look inside, look backwards, look at our past, because I think the past can bring future gains. Everyone, I have no power here and I'm recording on my phone. I can't upload this. I'm a little trapped that way. But I hope when this goes out to you that it makes a difference in how you look at your cards and, experiment. See what happens for you. Have a fun day.